Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
So I'm asking, how do you describe Rashan Gary? If you're just tuning in right now. So Rashan Gary, again, I'm not a believer in this thing, but it sparked a conversation, at least in my opinion. So yesterday, top 100 poll on NFL.com as voted on by the players. I always got to say that, as voted on by the players. I do think it's a little popularity thing. But he was voted number 80. Last year he was 50. He's 80 now. And it came, with that, you got these advanced analytics, stat sites, kind of showing how good Rashan Gary's pressure rate is. I mean, you're talking top 5, top 6. But the difference is the sack numbers. And he's top 6 in third down pass rushing rate. He's top 5 in pressure rate since coming into the league in 2019. But you look at the sack numbers, and it's just they're not there with the other guys. So how would you describe Rashan Gary? How, if you put your scouting cap on? And I would agree with the notion, pressure rate, great. You're getting after the quarterback, you're disrupting the pocket and such, but you got to close, right? I mean, that's the difference. When we talk about, if I bring up this statistic again about Rashan Gary, the 33rd team posted pass rushers with a higher pressure rate than Rashan Gary since he entered the league. Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, Trey Hendrickson, and Myles Garrett. There's one big difference in a lot of those. And it's sacks. And it's guys essentially closing the deal, bringing the quarterback down. So while it's great to have those numbers, you got to close. You got to get after them. So it's kind of maybe a little bit of a perplexing thing. And I do, and so I would agree with the notion it's got to close and get those sack numbers. I also think what's part of this conversation is dude's got a decent-sized contract. Okay, he's getting paid as a top 10 edge rusher, defensive end, pass rusher. He's getting paid to be that. And when we talk about the top defensive ends or pass rushers in this league, the first thing that we just kind of generally look at, numbers-wise, stat-wise, is going to be sacks. So, do you feel like he is if we just use the pay scale, and again, to me, that isn't the be-all, tell-all, because it's all about what your value is at that point in time. We see it all the time with quarterbacks. The highest quarterback, the highest paid quarterback isn't necessarily who we think is probably the best quarterback, but it's all about what your market value is at that time. But if we use contracts as a ranker, if you will, do you think he's a top 10 pass rusher? Because I think that is part of it where maybe we have such a, how do I want to say this, a harder view of him or a more difficult assessment of Gary because he is getting paid handsomely to get after the quarterback, because he does have a big contract that the sack numbers aren't there either. The stats of pressure rates and such are there, but the number that we as fans tend to pay attention to the most, those sack numbers, the sexy numbers, they're not there. So I think it's part of like the fact that he gets paid a lot of money and is a top 10-ish paid pass rusher. That factors into why maybe we kind of question the play at times too. I don't think there's any debate. The guy brings a lot of energy and a big time motor, and the effort's there too. The other part though too is, and this is one of my frustrations, and I don't know if it's strictly Rashan Gary or a maybe a team kind of thing, a philosophy. That's the word I was trying to go at. But snap counts. how many times last year did we talk about snap counts, especially on the defensive end? And the one thing that, and I get it, teams want to do a rotation and try to keep guys healthy or fresh and all that sort of stuff. I understand that. I get that. Okay? But when I look at other guys and compare their snap counts to Rashan Gary, I'm just like, I think I want a little more. I want a little bit. I want a little more. I mean, these were Rashan Gary's snap counts last year. Okay, these were Rashan Gary snap counts from last year. We'll just do percentages. Okay, starting week 1, 64%, 66%, 69%, 66%, 63, 66, 59, 63, 63, 64, 53, 61, 51, 49, 43, 51, 45. Kind of trailed off there at the end a little bit. I mean, so he never hit 70%. So let's go to, okay, let's do Trey Hendrickson. All right. Oh, let's just compare it to Trey. I don't know what it is. I'm bringing it up right now to see where it's at. I want the defense, not the offense. Okay, so Trey Hendrickson. Are they going to give me percentages on this thing? I want percentages. Let's go. Here we go. All right, so Trey Hendrickson, 75, 72, 64, 51, 60, 59, 70, 62, 74, 86, 85, 72, 82, 83, 79, 82, 82. Actually increased it a little bit more towards the end of the season. All right. A little bit higher. Who's another one we want to look at here? Should we do Myles Garrett? Let's do Myles Garrett. Let's throw him on here. Myles Garrett, 76, 68, 59, 75, 78, 79, 80, 83, 77, 75, 77, 71, 75, 81, 80, 87, 80. So, I mean, he's averaging 76.5% of the defensive snaps. And I get it. This, I'll be honest, there might be a game where he left a little early injury-wise, that sort of stuff. But, I mean, Green Bay and Rashan Gary here, I mean, you look at it, Rashan Gary then on average was, where is he at here? 58.7. 58.7% of the team snaps. That's where I wanna see more from him, especially if he's a top 10 defensive end, being paid as a top 10 defensive end. I want to see him on the field more. That's what I want to see. What I'm trying to C-Bomb talk to text. Most sacks since 2020. Gary is at 24, still behind Aaron Donald, who didn't play last year. Okay, I get you now. Most sacks since 2020. Gary is at 24, still behind Aaron Donald, who didn't play last year, and is a defensive tackle. So if we're talking contract, is Gary living up to it? I would say no. So I think he's got the traits, and obviously he's shown us some good things, but it just hasn't all kind of come together. He's a perplexing type of player at this point, and that's where I look at this year as, okay, can we see it all come together? Can we see those pressure rates match up to sack numbers and such? Are we going to see that at all this year? Training camp just days away from kicking off next Wednesday, although we've got players already having to report by the end of the week. It's almost here. The bikes are almost here, and the guys, the players, making some kiddos super proud, riding their little bike and such. One of the best traditions in all of sports is the bike riding. I really hope that, I hope we don't get to a point where those practices become incredibly limited and open to the public, where a lot of kids won't have the chance to take their bikes over there. I hope they keep that thing going. They got us. So But we continue our training camp storyline series here with the Green and Gold, and we've touched on a boatload of different items. We've talked about the offensive line, the defensive line, the wide receivers, the tight ends, the corners, the coaches. I want to talk about the quarterbacks today. And part of the reason I want to talk about the quarterbacks is because of the top 10 list that came out from ESPN with their talent evaluators, scouts, personnel, NFL personnel, and such. And Jordan Love did not make the top 10. He was listed as the second honorable mention. I'm assuming it would be second because C.J. Stroud was first, and then Jordan Love was after this. So I'm operating under the assumption he was about 12th. Okay. So in your mind, is Jordan Love a top 10 quarterback? Do you think he's the best quarterback in the NFC North? That list had Jared Goff at number, was it 8? I believe it was 8. So what's a little surprising to me that Jalen Hurts was 9. Thought maybe he'd be a little bit higher, but that's one list out there. But looking at the quarterbacks, and we'll start with number 10. Okay. I think this goes without saying. This team will go as far as 10 can carry them. And you can say that with almost practically every other team in the National Football League. They'll go as far as the quarterback can carry. A lot is dependent on the quarterback play of each team. It's not the case for everything. I mean, you could have great quarterback play and you just stink elsewhere. But, I mean, this specific team, this Packers team, they will go as far as that quarterback, is that the high level that the quarterback can give them, high-level play. And you look at last year, and I know one of the talking points or the narratives that were out there from a national media sense was a regression from Jordan Love, that he regressed last year. And I don't buy that. I don't fully buy that. Did he play to the high expectations that we had of him heading into 2024? No. The way that 2023, how that ended, we had, and rightfully so, I would argue, rightfully so, we had super high expectations for Jordan Love in 2024. And we set that bar so high. And again, I believe we had every right to do so. And it didn't hit that mark. And I think a lot of it did have to do with a couple big things. One, I think that knee injury and that groin injury, that was something he was dealing with for a huge chunk of the season. And I know there's going to be some fans that don't like that reason. They'll say it's an excuse, and they don't like it. And that's your own prerogative. That's your own feelings. But I personally feel like it did have an effect. And you could see some throws and some plays where you could tell the knee, maybe he just wasn't comfortable with it, confident with it, the groin. You could see it. But you also have to factor in the poor play from his receiving department. You know, Jordan Love gets discredited in terms of like completion percentage, completions to attempts when that receiver drops the ball. And you've got some fans that will say, well, you didn't move the ball, you didn't do this and that. And you look at a deeper picture, and I'm not exonerating every drop ball or every missed throw. I'm not exonerating Jordan Love from any of that, or from all of it. Yes, there were some poor throws. Yes, there were some poor decisions or some missed marks. But there was also another part of that whole story, and there was just some insane amount of drop balls from receivers. So while it sounds like I'm making up excuses for Jordan Love, I'm making up some. I'm backing him up some because I think there is a contingency out there that feels like he just had this super regression last year. When really, no, that wasn't the case. But I do believe that Jordan Love is entering a season, year 3 as a starter, where I think we just want to see the man now put it all together because we have seen really good games and really good stretches from him. And now we just want to see it all from week 1 to week 17. We want to see it throughout a whole season. The consistency factor. We want to see him stay healthy. We want to see him put up, amazing games week in and week out. I would not classify Jordan Love as an elite quarterback right now. I would not. I know some fan blogs out there are already saying he's an elite quarterback. I don't think I would put Jordan Love as an elite quarterback right now. And I understand why that particular list had him at 12. I understand that. And if you didn't see it, this was a little bit of the write-up that they had on there. It said Love appeared ready for top 10 status by the end of 2023. He was blanking outstanding, an NFL personnel evaluator said about that stretch. Play action on time, big arm confidence. That shifted slightly in 2024, due in part to a week 1 knee injury that cost him 2 games. It looked like it took him some time to work through managing that injury. The personnel evaluator said another full offseason with LaFleur and more receiving options, and he will be fine. So I think, again, I don't want to speak for all the scouts and talent evaluators and such out there. But I think, when it comes to Jordan Love, the arrow is still trending upward. And I think there's still a lot of people out there that says, okay, if he just stays healthy, he's in a good system and such, he's got some intriguing weapons, he's going to be fine. He's going to be a really good quarterback. And I would agree with that. I ultimately feel like at the end of this season, we will be talking about Jordan Love as a top 10 quarterback. If I'm looking at it from right now, and I look at this division, Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, Jared Goff, Jordan Love. Isn't that just a kind of a weird mixture of different types of quarterbacks and such? Would you put him as your top one? I probably would. But I understand why he wasn't ranked in the top 10. So looking at this season, I do think this is a big year, third year starting for Jordan Love. We were talking about, Rashan Gary and living up to the contract status and such. And let's face it, Jordan Love is one of the top paid quarterbacks in this league. And there's going to be a lot of people that want to see top 5, 6, 7 play from Jordan Love because of what he is getting paid because of that contract. I do feel like Jordan Love is set up to succeed. He's got a running game with Josh Jacobs. I think the offensive line is solid. I know the receivers struggled in catching the football last year. I'm optimistic that they're going to improve this year. Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs. I think again, I don't know. It's just my gut. I feel like he's going to be focused coming into a contract year. You bring in Matthew Golden. I'm expecting a bigger input from Tucker Kraft. Throwing a little Luke Musgrave in there. Jordan Love is set up to succeed. It's just, is he going to completely take that bull by the horns and run with it from week 1 to week 17? And, he's probably going to have a game, maybe a couple games where it's just was off the mark a little bit. Not the greatest performance from Jordan Love. And that's just, you're playing the averages at that point. But I'm expecting a really good year from Jordan Love. I didn't buy the whole regression talk and such because I think there were other circumstances and such that affected some of those box score scouting numbers. But if you want to say year 3's got to be a big one for him, yeah, I could see that because you just want to see the consistency through it. You want to see him healthy from week 1 to week 17. You want to see that. And you want to see him continue to play at a high level. Because going back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, for the Packers to advance deep in the postseason, for them to win a bunch of games, maybe make a deep playoff run, a lot is going to be on the shoulders of Jordan Love, of the quarterback play. That is a tough-as-nails division. There's probably going to be some close games, some grinded-out games, some games where you are going to be relying on the quarterback, relying on that quarterback to lead you to victory. So I think it's fair to expect some high-level play from Jordan Love this season. You have to. You have to. Why wouldn't you? That should be the expectation. I wouldn't call him elite, but I really hope that after this year, we're going to be calling him elite. Possibly. Malik Willis. I'm already forecasting this to kind of happen in preseason. Not everybody, but there's going to be some. Because it happened last year. You're probably going to hear people say we should trade Malik Willis and get something in return because he's going to be a free agent after this year. No. Don't. Just because you have finally maybe a stable backup quarterback situation doesn't mean to go trade him for an early day 3 pick. Because that's all you're going to get for him. Is like a 5th round pick potentially. Maybe. If that. If Malik Willis goes out there and has himself a solid preseason, because we're going to probably see a ton of Malik Willis in the preseason. And if he goes out there and he has a really good preseason, you do not need to go trade. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to be saying this throughout this whole training camp and preseason. You don't have to trade him to get something in return just because he's going to be a free agent next year. I want to have that backup quarterback option, a decent. I'd rather have Malik Willis than Sean Clifford, okay? And I know Sean Clifford was a 4th or 5th round pick, but I'd rather have Malik Willis than Sean Clifford. Now, if this was a team that, all right, we're not expecting playoffs, you know, it's kind of a rebuilding situation or whatever, okay, maybe the conversation is a little bit different. But what we saw from Malik Willis last year and his ability to come in and still win games, I want that. I still want that just in case something happens to Jordan Love. I want that to happen. I'd rather not see Malik Willis in these games. I'd rather not see him come in at all because that means Jordan Love's healthy and he's ready to go. But I want to be able to have that option like, okay, if we got to go to Malik Willis, we got to go to Malik Willis. A guy who's, you know, won some games, Matt LaFleur, the offensive staff, know how to prepare and get him ready and know how to get a game plan going with Malik Willis. Because if he's playing well and playing well in the preseason doesn't mean that we just automatically have to flip him for a draft pick in the third or on day 3. Run with him. Keep him on the roster just in case. Malik Willis last year was an insanely nice surprise. And I know when the Packers first acquired him from a 7th round pick, there was a lot of fans that rolled their eyes. Like, really? Malik Willis? And then what does he do? He comes in weeks 2 and 3 and leads a charge. Then you have some fans saying maybe he should be starting. Stop. But right now, when I look at the quarterback and the backup quarterback position, I feel pretty darn confident in it. I mean, there was a lot of years when Aaron was the quarterback in Green Bay, and there was a lot of times where we were like, man, I wouldn't mind if they would just go in free agency, invest, and bring in a veteran backup quarterback. Spend a little bit of money and bring in a veteran backup quarterback. That was something that was brought up more than a couple times. And a lot of times, Green Bay would probably just draft a quarterback in the 7th round or have an undrafted rookie free agent, be their backup quarterback. I mean, everybody remembers the Tim Boyle era as the backup quarterback. But I'm a proponent of having a veteran backup quarterback, somebody that has been out there and somebody that has maybe won some games for you. And there's nothing wrong with having that third quarterback stashed on your practice squad and trying to mold them to maybe eventually be that backup quarterback for you. But right now, I'm feeling good about the quarterback depth chart right now for Green Bay. Because let's face it, knock on wood, hopefully this doesn't happen. But knock on wood, we get to our third option at quarterback, things probably ain't going to be going too well. I don't necessarily see a revision of the 8-7-1 season in 2013 when Green Bay barely just got in on the skin of their teeth that year when they went through how many quarterbacks? Rodgers, Wallace for like a drive in the Philly game because I was there, Scott Tolzien, then they bring back Matt Flynn. Yeah, 4 different starting quarterbacks they had that season, and somehow they make the playoffs and almost beat the 49ers in the first round. But to kind of wrap it up, Jordan Love, I do think it's a big year for him. It's like a growth year. It's another step year. Can he take that next step? And you're going to see a lot of people use the comparisons of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in his 3rd year as a starter, what did he do? Super Bowl 45. I don't know if there's others, if there's any listeners out there that are going to use that same metric or that same barometer to compare Love and Rodgers, but it's going to be out there. Well, Aaron Rodgers led his team to a Super Bowl in his 3rd year starting. Jordan Love going to do that? He's probably going to see it on the TV, on all those graphics when you're watching the game and such. But I think part of that, though, too, is like it's another year that we just want to see another step. Maybe that step to elevate into elite status. Because he's not there yet for me. Jordan Love's not an elite quarterback. I hope he gets there. And I hope that step is this season. I think he's got the tools on the team to do it. And I think he himself has the traits to be that quarterback.